Okay, so I'm willing to bet there's probably only like 2 or 3 people in this room that have ever heard of me. So, short introduction. This is me at the Edinburgh Fringe. No, I wasn't at the Edinburgh Fringe, but I hail from Cheltenham. I worked out the other day, I've been in IT for about 20 years as a pro now, which is terrifying to me because when I look in the mirror, that guy looking back isn't actually that old, I hope. I spend a lot of my spare time doing music. I love music. And I say all of this, not to impress you, but to really try and set a scene around where I've seen IT go in the last 20 years. I started off in desktop support, probably as some of you guys may have done in the room previously. Very rapidly moved into servers, into client-server architecture, and a whole load of other things. What I've seen is a massive step change in the way we deliver IT. And I've worked in some very large consultancies, and I was talking to Frank about potentially some of our shared history in one particular organisation, who will remain nameless. But I dealt a lot with cloud in that organisation and putting together large-scale private cloud and some shared service infrastructure. Those projects were pretty cool. They were nowhere near as cool as what we did at UCAS. And the reason they weren't as cool at UCAS, I'll explain in a few moments. But we wanted to talk a little bit about innovation. And cloud, I think, is all about innovation. And the technologies that we have available to us from the Amazon Web Services portfolio, I think really speak to that. Because I think, you're right, Frank, it's toolbox. We started off a couple of years ago taking just a few of those tools, and I think we achieved some pretty extraordinary results from that. When we look at innovation, there is a process we go through for innovation. It might not be a conscious process, but these really are the steps that we go through. We always start with a problem. The problem that we had was on the front page of the national newspapers a few years ago. The problem that UCAS had was that its key systems failed 2 years in a row on the one day it really mattered, A-level results day and confirmation and clearing. And this is the process where every person in the UK who is attempting to go to university comes through UCAS. They expect to get their A-level results from us. They expect them for the universities to be able to get the information that UCAS has. And they then expect that to all seamlessly work and for them to have a place offered at a university. It could be Oxford, could be Cambridge, could be Oxford Brookes, could be University of West of England, across several hundred institutions. The systems failed. The reason they failed was that they were antiquated. They were designed for a different purpose from a different era. They were really designed around a batch processing type of architecture, and the whole sector changed. The whole of the education industry really changed, or the whole of the education sector really changed in terms of the way that it was funded. We thank the government for that deeply. Our systems crumbled. What we had at the time was an opportunity, and the management team at that point converted it from a problem into a challenge. And they said, your challenge, architects and developers and infrastructure engineers, is to make sure that when we get to the next confirmation and clearing event, we get to the next A-level results day, that these systems stay up. It's a crisis point. We must have success. There was no other option. So we took that challenge. And we got creative. I remember I was working over Christmas, and I'd actually only come to UCAS for a period of 3 months to consult on what they should do with their legacy data center. And actually, my advice was, tear it up, get rid of it. We don't want that. We should do something else. We still have that data center. We're on a journey, and I'll come to that later. But we started getting creative about the solution, and we started looking at what we could very rapidly do with the people that we had at the time, with the capability that we had. And we started looking at Amazon. We'd looked at some other cloud providers, and we'd had some great success with Microsoft Azure the previous year with something called Results Day Service for delivering A-levels. But critically, the second half of the equation hadn't worked very well at all, which was the delivery of information to the universities, to the higher education providers. So we got creative. We went to the cloud. We went to the cloud wholesale for the most critical systems in a condensed period of time. And it was really that necessity that drove us. We brought together a team, which was a multidisciplinary team of people, for a period of around about 6 to 8 months. Sat them together, as you'd expect. We got them talking to each other. We got them talking to the business. We got them to understand actually what the issues really were fundamentally underneath this infrastructure. And we got them to understand how we could move all of that to the cloud. The reason we chose cloud was around flexibility. It was around speed. We'll talk about a little bit about security in a moment. But there were many, many reasons that we went to the cloud, and we collaborated on that very, very closely. We had a very tight team as well, so we had a really good team ethos, and we brought those people together. And that's something that UCAS is now starting to roll out, not just within IT, but across the business as well. So some of these ideas have matured over time, and I think that's where innovation really starts to drive benefits. So we developed a whole new set of infrastructure capabilities, and we took our legacy systems up to the cloud. I'm going to push that button in the hope that it was there. I call it an emergency architecture. It was absolutely an emergency architecture. This diagram, which no one can read, and I did check, I zoomed in, you can't see the IP addresses when you zoom in fact they're not there. This diagram we had to print on A1 and put on the wall. We couldn't actually, the systems are so complex, there's so much of it, there was so much detail that we had to express and manage on a day-to-day basis. We actually had this printed on 5 or 6 sheets of A1 actually up on one of our walls in the office. It was quite incredible actually, and every day we'd stand there and stroke our chins and point at it and get a red marker pen out and cross things out and scribble across it. But we were constantly innovating, we were constantly changing it. It was a massive, and remains to this day, a massively complex system because we had a legacy, monolithic set of applications based around some legacy Oracle and Java technologies, which were very tightly coupled. There's a few people in this audience today, I think, who will appreciate how tightly coupled those systems were in terms of data. It's almost impossible to start pulling those things apart, but we're starting on that journey now. So what did we take into the mix? Well, we took a whole load of Amazon Web Services, and I remember doing a slide deck for our COO at the time, and literally it was almost like a cut and paste off the Amazon website of all of your technologies. So we took that. We also integrated a whole load of other cloud players as well, and a whole bunch of technologies as well. So in terms of where UCAS is going, in 2013 we took this emergency action, we built this emergency architecture in the cloud. We built some basic automation, and that was really driven by management. Management said we have to succeed, we cannot fail, we must have this solution in the cloud. Last year, we started developing maturity in our developers, in our development teams. We brought in some more skilled people as well, and we started to generate some next generation architectures. So we started to put some maturity around our automation. We built an automation, in-house automation stack as well. And I know that Dan from TfL was talking about Puppet. We're a big user of Puppet. We're looking to use Puppet Enterprise in the short term as well in the near future. We built some additional capabilities that Amazon couldn't offer us in terms of CloudFormation or CloudFormation clone. That's where we got to last year. We moved some of the final critical systems to the cloud. So that's our legacy stuff dealt with. What this has allowed us to learn over time is that we've now got the ability, because we've got a skilled developer base, we're starting to scale our developers up. And we're moving from where we've been a management-led organization and an architecture-led organization to really being a developer-led, innovative company. And that's something that has been driven out of IT. And it's not just affecting IT now, it's starting to affect the whole UCAS business model. We're starting to see the executives starting to talk about more agile approaches to business, and we're rolling out something called the value framework across the organization as well, which talks about putting agile methodologies into every single thing we do. That depends massively on what we can do with Amazon Web Services, and we're taking new information from Amazon on new products constantly so that we can build a set of next generation services. It is a cliche to say that it's a journey, not a single event in terms of innovation, and it's absolutely true. We've developed a very permissive environment. We talked about failing fast earlier and failing cheaply, and we do those things now. We start to chunk things up into smaller bits of work so we can think through things quicker, not just in terms of IT, what we do with the infrastructure and the code, but in terms of what we do as an organization. We do want to fail fast because we can't afford to do anything else. In order to do that, we've had to mature as an organization. We're starting to develop more detailed roadmaps. We're starting to plan a little bit for the future, but at the same time remaining agile within that context as well. We love Amazon. And you probably get a lot of customers say that, but we really do love Amazon. We think it's a great toolkit. And understanding it is in no small part down to the Amazon account team that we have. We're an enterprise support customer, and we've had people such as Ed, I see Gavin in the back, Steve, Chris Heyman as well was on our team a short while ago before he defected. So they're absolutely brilliant. and you have to work closely with them, I think. I think there's an absolute massive value in that. So what's next for us? Well, pretty much every technology within the Amazon stack we're looking at the moment. We talked a little bit about blue-green deployments, and I was talking to the head of development and applications the other day. Blue-green, absolutely the way to go. Balancing these things, being able to flip between one set of applications and another, being able to fail things over very quickly. And canary deployments as well, so sending very small percentages of traffic through to different environments. So I'm going to be looking at building that capability. There's a story to tell around .NET. I know I'm virtually out of time. Frank's frowning at me at the back. So we are a big Azure customer at the moment, but we're also investing in .NET on Amazon. We think it's an amazingly capable platform. And part of our strategy is to start looking at building these next generation services. We're also looking at everything else you could possibly think of in terms of a modern organization. And because it's a really cool place to work, we are hiring. But thank you very much.